Hello. This is another open camera session. If you have anything you want me to talk about, feel free to say something on the live chat, and I will cover whatever topic is of interest. Bear with me because I'm kind of new to using this feature. I can't seem to get live chat on my end for some reason. Give me a second. Did I not turn it on for some reason? Pop out chat. Hello. Feel free to suggest a topic you want me to cover. Cool. So, as I talked about yesterday, I've been doing intermittent fasting as of late. Usually, I will fast uh, at least 16 hours every day. There's a book about that, the 16-hour fast of the 8-hour diet or something like that, where you eat 8 hours out of the day and fast 16 hours every night. I almost always do that. But on top of that, sometimes I'll skip the 8 hours altogether and it will end up being a 40-hour fast. And one of the big benefits of going on a 24 plus hour fast like that is that it makes me realize that I don't need to eat as much as I think I need to eat. And I'm reaching for food during the day, and oh my God, why am I reaching for food? Uh, and It makes me realize that I don't need to eat. It makes me question, do I really need to eat? It's kind of like the 1970s when you're getting ready to get in your car. Is my trip really necessary? It's kind of like in 2020 before you meet up with a coworker in the office. Can we do this over Zoom? Is meeting up all that necessary, right? Lately I've been doing that with my food. Is what I'm about to eat all that necessary? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Am I something else that food does not address that I should go do instead of eating? And I find that's true a lot of the times. And I don't need to eat as much as I think I do. Anyways, let me make sure my audience is hearing me. I just want to make sure I sound correctly. Are you hearing the audio correctly? This is my first. This is only my second day using this live stream, and cool. Okay, everybody hears me. Philosopher Bees, how do you feel about my idea of questioning whether or not the food you're about to eat is all that necessary? Just like how you would question, is my trip all that necessary? Uh, how, how do you any comments on that idea or any improvements you want to make upon that idea or anything just out of curiosity? If not, we'll move on, I guess. One of the other, I agree with you as long as you don't let it turn into long-term neurosis. Well, no, I wouldn't. I'm not saying you should starve yourself, right? I'm saying you should question whether or not the next thing you're about to do, whether it be food or whether it be anything else, right, is what you actually need to do, right? If you're eating because you're lonely, if you're eating because you're tired, if you're eating because you need mental stimulation, you're not going to satisfy your needs and you're just going to get fat without any benefit to whatever you needed to do, right? So it's just like in the 1970s, you questioned, is my trip all that necessary? Can I combine my errands, right? Nobody told you in the 1970s to quit your job because it requires you to commute. Nobody told you to uh, to quit seeing your family members and become estranged because you don't want to fly there. Nobody told you to do that. People just told you to think what was the best way to go about meeting all of your needs, right? So I want to clarify that, right? Nobody's telling you to starve yourself, which would be a bad thing, right? And then you would need to question, do I really need to starve myself, right? Am I having personal image problems, right? Is there something else I need to address rather than starve myself, right? So that question still applies, right? Do I really need to do what I'm about to do, right? Uh, that question would still apply there. So did you wanted to talk about the copper pennies, philosopher bees? Any questions, for me? About? Sure, Ray, about? 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 Weight loss. In terms of what the scale says, no, but my clothes definitely fit better. I'm probably gaining quite a bit of muscle mass. You are a stacker, cool. So what is your favorite metal to stack amongst the big four, and then there's copper, right? Which some people consider almost a precious metal, right? I just took down. Nice platinum. Right, platinum is very undervalued right now. I just made a video about the ratio of platinum to palladium. I'm hoping in my lifetime, I've already completed one cycle of going from palladium to platinum. I hope in my lifetime I can go back and forth at least 5 or 6 more times. And then my stack would be multiplied. And plus, I would still be buying as I'm trading back and forth, right? I'll be buying whichever one is undervalued at the time. And if all goes well, I should be able to leave in a state of at least 1,000 ounces of either platinum or palladium. So, very good decision to buy platinum right now. That's the key. Yeah. Um, what are your thoughts about gold or silver right now? How's your wife hunt going? Actually, I found a perfect husband, and you're looking at him in the camera. I'm a solo sexual. I really enjoyed the quarantine uh, in terms of my relationship with myself. I have a significant amount of silver, very little gold. Um, yeah, gold mining companies are definitely undervalued at the moment. I looked at ratios. I never look at the dollar price of something. Dollars are artificial. The price of anything is how much of anything else you can buy, right? Because if you think about it, during the COVID-19 situation, see, I work for a relatively small startup, and like a lot of other people, my pay has been cut, but it feels like a double cut because all the food that I like has gone up in price. Obviously, the precious metals that we're talking about has gone up in price. So for the same hour, I can get like half as much food so it's a 50% pay cut for me. And the price of anything is how much of anything else you can get, right? And so I never look at the dollar value of gold. That's meaningless. When I unfortunately every time I turn on Bloomberg News and they talk about how many dollars it takes to buy an ounce of gold, that's fake. What I care about is how much silver does it take to buy gold? How much food can I get for gold? How long can I pay my rent with the gold, right? That's what I actually care about, right? Um, but in terms of the searching for value I have a significant amount of silver, very little gold. I search for value. This is a great idea that I rarely cover in my videos. Right now, the price of gold, the fake price of gold, that is 2,100 or so. The nice thing about gold having such a high dollar value, which it affects people psychologically, right? A lot of times, the rare gold coins, like the double eagles, they don't catch up fast enough, right? Normally, the double eagle might be going for 20 to 30% over gold, but when gold shoots up like that, it works great psychology on people, and so people don't uh, buy double eagles faster than they buy gold bars, and so double eagles lag behind, and they might be trading for just a smudge over the price of gold, or sometimes even below gold. I've seen that happen a few times, especially if you're buying them with a credit card with a really good rewards. I've bought double eagles below um, gold price like that before, and so the way I like to look at it, try to avoid paying a premium over gold, but at the same time, try to get the rarest gold you can find, right? Right now, if the gold bar and the double eagle are going for the same price, go for the double eagle, right? That way, if gold falls, it will still have some collectible value, right? That makes sense to you, Philosopher Bees? So we got another guest on the line here. Say Saberone 000 says hello. Unfortunately, that was first review of you. I saw the big silver bars. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get the live chat to go with the videos after they become part of my uploaded videos for some reason. How do I make? If either of you guys know, how do I get this chat to save in the final video? I'm still working on how to make live videos, so I have no idea how this works. No idea. Interesting. Manage moderators. I'm looking at the features on here. This is my only my second day playing with this, so I believe I might have had the wrong setting yesterday. Oh, live chat, all messages are visible. I have never streamed. That's all right. That's all right. Anyways, how do you guys feel about this whole COVID-19 situation, if you don't mind me asking? You hate it. You know, it's like the whole world is a prison. At the beginning of this crisis, yeah, I thought about the same thing. Oh, I hate this. I can't wait to get out. I ended up breaking up with my girlfriend over this. But then I realized that there are so many things that I get to do. And Philosopher Beast just said that it's fake. And yeah, it might be part of it might be fake. I think part of it is that the virus probably exists. The virus probably exists. The problem is that a lot of Americans are experts at destroying their immune system, and they eat a lot of sugar, a lot of MSG, a lot of trans fat, a lot of other crap. They take prescription drugs for depression. And come on, I'm pretty depressed too about COVID-19. I haven't taken an antidepressant drug. I take lithium orotate supplements, but I certainly wouldn't be taking Prozac. Not to mention you have to go line up to get Prozac and then risk getting a disease while you're in line in the first place. So they poison their immune systems, and then they get anything and it kills them, right? They get a few years ago it was measles, and then there was Ebola, and now COVID-19, and the next thing you know, people are going to be dying of the flu. And Severono just says, I have saved so much money. I'm not buying stuff I don't need. Yes, exactly. There are so many side benefits to all this. At the beginning, when I lost my job over it, um, or rather, I had my hours cut a lot, and my sleep schedule became a lot more flexible. Right, if I didn't get to sleep until 2 or 3 in the morning, or I went to sleep too early, I could still work those few hours that I had, and I felt a whole lot better. See, I used to think I had insomnia. I really don't. What I have is a hard time sleeping on a regular schedule. That is right, and so I got to indulge in sleeping on my own timetable, and I got to enjoy going out to the park alone. Right, nobody wanted to go to the public parks anymore, and I think at the beginning of the crisis, it was technically illegal to go out to the park, but I really enjoyed it anyway. And there was nobody there. They really weren't enforcing it because nobody was going to arrest you and risk getting COVID-19 anyhow, right? What did you say? Do you believe? Yes, I do believe in reincarnation, which is one reason why I have a big uh, fear of which is why I like to keep myself healthy because I don't want to think about where I might end up going after I die. When I was working on my PhD, I dated a girl who came from a dysfunctional family, and the thought that in a future lifetime I might be born to a family like that scared the crap out of me. And around the same time, I started to eat a lot healthier because, if I can live to be 300, 400 years old, maybe by that time, the concept of a dysfunctional family will kind of be resolved a little bit, right? I hate to say eradicated, but at least we'll have a better solution if you do end up being born to a family like that, right? Which is why I want to stay healthy. What else is on here? It's a lockdown to bring a new global government. Yes, it is, but at the same time, the other side of crisis is opportunity, right? And every crisis comes with an opportunity, in my opinion. So I think be smart and be awake, and don't be so fearful, and don't lock yourself into prison. I talked about earlier how at the beginning, even though it was kind of illegal to go out to the park, I went there anyway because, like I said, I want to observe what's going on and take advantage of the opportunities that come with crises, right? All right. Says, do you know about Kyle Bass nickel presentation? I'm not sure about that. I'm having lots of energy. I'm not sure about that either. I hope this live chat actually shows up in the final video, because yesterday when I recorded a video, I had an open camera session last night as well. The chat disappeared when I looked this morning. It's really disappointing because I answered a lot of things that were on the live chat, and now the whole video doesn't seem to have a context anymore. That's why I'm reading back the comments as they come. That way, at least people will know what I'm trying to answer. How high can we count to? Well, unfortunately, I had a problem just like that when I was working on my PhD. I had written a computer program to solve this problem called Ramsey theory, and I tried to estimate how long that program would take to run, and I estimated it by running a billionth of that program. And it took 1,000 seconds for a billionth of that program to run. So I multiplied a billion times 1,000, that's a trillion. So that whole program is going to take about 1 trillion seconds to run. And I got kind of excited because it didn't seem like 1 trillion seconds was that long. I could probably start running it and get a very powerful computer, maybe leave the computer to my children and my grandchildren, and they'll see the result. And I thought, I could do this. And then I got out my calculator, and 1 trillion seconds, you divide that by 60 to get how many minutes that is. You divide that by 60 again to get how many hours, and then divide that by 24 to get how many days, and divide that by 365 to get how many years. And it turned out to be about 30,000 years. What was really funny was at the time, I had lost my apartment because I had dated a girl who had taken advantage of me financially. I spent all my money on her, and I lost the apartment. And now I was squatting in one of the offices on campus that nobody ever goes to, and which was really nice. The office didn't have a window, and so I envisioned the computer would still be in there 30,000 years from now. The whole building would be covered with ice and snow, and who knows what else, right? Humans might even be extinct, and the computer's still chugging away, calculating the Ramsey theory problem, and it will find an answer. And then a future civilization of some other animal will dig up the computer and be like, oh, this Ramsey theory problem, we better find out what kind of problem this guy was trying to solve. And then it will be really interesting, right? I had a vision like that because it blew my mind just how long 1 trillion seconds really was, right? And so, unfortunately, nobody's going to ever count to 1 trillion. Count to 1 billion, yeah. It might be a multi-generational event, right? If you had somebody who was really good at counting, and they had the genetic they had the genetic gift of the ability to count really fast, right? And so they would pass that gift to their children and their grandchildren, and they started counting as soon as they started to understand counting, right? Maybe at the age of 3, right? And you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then by the time they're on their deathbed, they're going 135,621,537. Oh, son, can you continue for me? And then his son just continues where he leaves off, and then you can do that for a few generations, and it might make a really nice YouTube show, right? The other thing I thought about was there aren't too many words involved when one counts to 1 billion, right? You need to say 1 through 9. You need to say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then you can record that. And then you could do a computer simulation to count from 1 to 1 billion. And then you could put it live on YouTube, right? Nobody's ever going to watch that in their lifetime, right? It might take hundreds of years for that count to finish, but at least it'll be there for people to watch. They could jump to any number that they wanted to. And that might be fun to do, right? 1 billion might be possible it would stretch it. It would stretch the meaning of what it means to count to a billion, a trillion. Forget about it. We're not even going to do that in the time of human civilization, right? The debt clock. Yeah, that's another one of my favorite counting examples. Yeah. What do you think about the idea of a multi-generational counting exercise that you could put on YouTube? Yeah, so philosopher B's, what is your favorite part of the debt clock? There's a lot of numbers on there aside from just debts, right? They talk about the unemployment rate, they talk about trade balances, social security, and all that. Well, you upload your conscious intent that when it's offered. Maybe after I die, so people can use. One of my big worries, or at least it used to be one of my big worries, is who's going to continue writing my computer games after I'm gone, right? And after uh, I've been writing computer games for 8 years now, and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of my computer games. And one of my big worries is what's going to happen to my computer games after I die. And I've been, especially at the beginning of COVID-19, I really started to jot down everything I knew about computer games, even if I hadn't really given it much thought yet, because I worried that if I were to die, not only of COVID-19, but of the mental health challenges they will bring, right? At the beginning, I was feeling very depressed, and I wanted to make sure my games wouldn't go with me if I died. And so, which was really good because it inspired me to publish two papers in the Computer Olympia Journal this year. So, like I said, COVID-19 is a crisis and an opportunity. Never forget, every crisis comes with opportunities on the other side of the equation. It's you cannot have one without the other. They are literally two sides of the coin. So never forget that. Whether it be a personal crisis, whether it be a national or even an international crisis, every crisis comes with an opportunity, and every opportunity comes with a crisis, right? Every time you feel like you're lucky and you're getting all these great opportunities, somewhere in that picture, there's a crisis that you should be worried about, right? Um, of course, I like how it shows the new mine supply versus debt supply. Um, Straight up modern art. Yeah, I've been fascinated about art recently as well. During the whole COVID lockdown, I've been just jotting everything that I know down because who knows if we have a tomorrow, right? And so, as a result, I'm publishing two papers this year. I made a number of artwork. Uh, I like how there were the authors. There are a few things I wish would be covered on the debt clock. They show Social Security outlays. I wish they would show some kind of distribution of how much, on average, people were getting, the quartiles, maybe even the income inequality, right? They show total income. They don't show how much the top 5%, the top 10%. They should break it down, right? Because income inequality really blows the mind when you see it, right? Especially if you look at it throughout history, how much it has changed over the last 4 or 5 decades, right? I'm sure most of my viewers have seen that chart, but it's not really shown on the national debt clock. I might think about writing a suggestion to them now that I think about it. Anyways, what was the first thing that you thought about hoarding up on when you heard about COVID-19? I know a lot of people bought toilet paper, but I think most of my viewers and myself thought that probably wasn't the number one thing to hoard, right? I started prepping when I first saw the virus in China. Wow, that was in January, right? It was probably even earlier than that. Wow. Um, See, it moved very fast. The reason is that I remember exactly what I was doing when I first heard this problem. This was in February, actually. What's scary is that all unfolded just like the virus from I bought lots of canned meat, already run a garden. Where are you? Uh, this is actually an Airbnb that I'm staying in long term, which is really nice because I get to meet lots of people who are only here for a day or two and get to mingle with a lot of people, which is really nice because that's one thing I haven't been able to do in 2020 so far. And like I said, even though I missed out on mingling with people earlier in the year, there are a lot of things I did that I probably wouldn't have done if COVID-19 hadn't gone down the way that it did, right? I published 2 papers, like I said earlier. I wrote a number of computer games. I got a lot of exercise. I really ramped up my changing my eating lifestyle. I lost a lot of weight, or at least a lot of body fat, right? My clothes fit a whole lot better. Um, I um, and now I'm kind of making up for lost time in terms of meeting new people. Are you working for the CIA? Well, kind of, right? I'm always learning about new things, new intelligences, right? I bought ammo first thing I stuck up on. So, were you buying ammo to protect yourself or to hunt? Um, you know what? When I was working on my PhD, I used to eat a lot of roadkill, and I never hunted. Um, I my classmates taught me how to fish out of Lake Ontario, and I ate a lot of fish out of Lake Ontario because at the time I wanted to spend all my money to meet the right girl, and I ended up meeting a girl who took advantage of me financially. So I ended up eating a lot of roadkill, a lot of fish out of Lake Ontario, and then I got deathly ill. And I come to think of it, I probably had heavy metal toxicity from the fish out of Lake Ontario. I suffer from high functioning autism, so just the fact that I have autism, probably my body is not very good at getting rid of mercury in the first place. And now I was eating fish out of Lake Ontario, which has about 10 to 20 micrograms of mercury per kilogram, if I remember correctly. Um, and When COVID-19 first came around and I was a little bit worried about food, this was during the winter time. I thought, oh, I could just eat roadkill. And then I learned about how COVID-19 started. That might not be the best of ideas. And so the first thing I hoarded up on was food. I wasn't so worried about the toilet paper, actually. Yeah, that was eating the fish out of the lake was definitely not the best idea. Building an aquaponics system in my yard right now. Oh my god. I love this recording live now because when I record a YouTube video, people always wonder when I tell people my sardine stockpile, the Baker's chocolate idea was a good one. Food is king. Baker's chocolate, I hoarded that not necessarily just for my own consumption. It was more like it was a currency. It was very nicely divided. And it felt like I was hoarding like almost like a precious metal when I was hoarding Baker's chocolate. The sardine is long gone. I've since eaten most of it, and the rest is at my family's home actually at the moment. Um, but yeah, Python. No, I don't program in Python. All my games are in C++. But so now I get to tell people the joke that when I was working on my PhD, I spent all my money on my girlfriend. I ate so much roadkill, I caught COVID-09 or COVID-10 now, right? Because it was from an animal, and I got very sick, right? And I almost had to quarantine, right? Definitely not going to go back to that. Baker's chocolate. I mean, think about the ratio between Baker's chocolate and silver. Right now, so as I'm speaking, silver I think is about $25 an ounce. The Baker's chocolate is this is tea. This is unsweetened pure leaf tea. Uh, but Baker's chocolate, I think I paid 250 a box. So every 10 boxes is an ounce of silver. It's not bad. It's a little bit bulkier in terms of volume compared to copper, but it's a lot lighter, right? So 250 worth of copper is about a pound of copper. For chocolate, it's only 4 ounces. So it's a little bit lighter than copper, but it takes up more space, right? So depends on your preferences. I would imagine in an emergency situation, the chocolate would probably appreciate a whole lot more than the copper, right? Because nobody's building houses, nobody's what else do you use copper for? Right? Electronics, that's going to go down, right? Which is why buying Bitcoin for the crisis would be a really silly idea, right? That's the last thing people want to use. So I guess if you're worried about lockdowns and people are shopping online, I guess Bitcoin might be okay, right? But I have some crypto of ETFs, but for the most part, I don't consider that a part of prepping. Uh, Tea, I thought it was whiskey. Uh, Cobra in a glass jug. I had never heard of that. So last night I recorded, I kept the camera on and I went to sleep, and I think people were commenting on that. It was really funny. I just wanted to make sure that I was behaving myself. I have a habit lately because of quarantine. I've been really relaxing my personal hygiene and my habits at home because I feel like nobody's watching. And I really felt like I was in solitary confinement. So I turned on the camera just to make sure there would be people watching me so I would behave. And it was kind of funny. Do you think silver will go higher than it is? Well, it depends on what you mean by higher, right? When something goes up in value, it has to go up relative to something, right? And I think most people mean will silver go up relative to the dollar, right? Well, that's anybody's guess, right? Will silver go up relative to food or toilet paper or even gold? I think so, right? Because historically it's very undervalued, right? I have never heard of death grips. Can I find a job as an assembly language programmer? I have kind of used assembly language before. Some of my games are very highly optimized, and assembly language is very good for manipulating what's happening at the computer chip level, right? The nice thing about it is that there are so many languages that allow you to more or less write assembly language in a human readable way, right? The tea in an empty whiskey bottle. Well, it's really the other way around, right? You want to sneak whiskey somewhere public and not attract attention, right? You want to put whiskey in the tea bottle, probably, right? Yeah, one of my most fond memories of the beginning of the COVID crisis was I went to the park in Kirkland, and this guy, he had gotten this tape measure, this metal tape measure, and he pulled out 6 feet. And he was sitting on a park bench. And when people got too close, he would go, "Hey, too close, too close." And that was my first memory of what it was like to be quarantined and be paranoid about COVID-19. Well, the thing about the dollar falling, yes, in the very long term, right? The dollar will go to zero. I can agree with that. In the short term, it's anybody's guess, right? Because in the short term, there's a lot of a lot of people owe debts that are denominated in dollars, right? When people are panicky or hoarding, they tend to pay off debts and increase their savings, right? And when that happens, the dollar could temporarily jostle, right? And so that's why buying silver on leverage is not necessarily a good idea, right? If you buy silver on leverage, and let's say you want to buy 10 ounces of silver, the way leverage works is you put down 1 ounce of silver and you borrow enough money to buy 9 ounces. Well, now if silver were to correct 10%, your equity is wiped out, right? And even if that was temporary, right? Let's say silver were to dive 20% and then immediately after that go up 10 times, right? Well, unfortunately, because of your leverage, your position is closed out and you miss out. You were right about the long term direction, right? But you were wrong about how much volatility there was on the way there. That's why I do not recommend leverage, right? Uh, Same thing with the euro, right? They're all paper currencies, and all paper currencies eventually go to zero, but not in a straight line, right? So don't forget that. I don't get the math while driving alone in a car. I don't get it either. Um, well, people like to feel like they have some control over the situation, right? When people put on a mask when they're driving, they feel like they're actually controlling almost like they're driving the wheels of COVID-19, right? They don't feel like they're just riding in the COVID-19 train anymore, right? I just watched your platinum video. That's very nice. How do you feel about the ratios between platinum and palladium? I have about 200 ounces of silver. Okay. That's a lot more than average, by the way. You know that, right? The amount of silver divided by the world population is only like 2 ounces. So you have enough for 100 people. I never use leverage. Good. Never do that. The only time I could see leverage being a good idea, and this will not apply to me or probably to any of my viewers, is if you need to like buy insurance of some sort, right? If you own a business of some sort and you know that if silver were to go up 2 cents, you would be devastated by that, right? In that case, you might want to buy some silver on leverage so that if silver goes up 2 cents, you could gain enough money to recover whatever loss you had, right? So the only good use of leverage I can think of is like as an insurance policy, right? See, nobody thinks of insurance as an investment, right? You don't say, I'm investing in my car insurance because I know I have a good idea of crashing my car someday. And oh my God, my investment's going to pay off 20 times, right? You'd have to be an idiot to say anything like that, right? But most people have car insurance because they're hedging against a massive loss when something does go wrong, right? I think I will trade one. Yeah, when the platinum to gold ratio hits 2 ounces of gold to 1 ounce of platinum, I think that might be a relatively wise trade to make. I'm kind of focusing on platinum to palladium though because it has brought a lot more opportunities in recent times. But who knows? Past performance is never a guarantee, right? Well, the mining shares, the companies have debt. Yes, it is a little bit more volatile, but at the same time, I would hope you would diversify and not buy one mining company, right? Definitely, I would make sure you have enough physical metals to guard against the worst case. Uh, Mining companies are definitely more reward and more risk, right? But that's why you diversify, and I would never recommend buying any one company, right? Even I myself don't, right? When I get any sort of company shares where I'm working, as soon as they vest, I always diversify that investment, right? Especially if you work for the company that you own, right? That's the worst case of putting all your eggs in one basket, right? Getting platinum out of spark plugs. Well, I think my time's a little bit more valuable than doing that, but I'm sure there are people who I didn't have the foresight on. But well, neither did I, right? At least not in recent. I mean, I bought some when I was working on my PhD, but at the time I didn't have a whole lot of money. Uh, but I've done one. I've started trading some of that palladium for platinum, and I hope to live long enough to make the reverse trade and back and forth, like I talked about in the last video. Comet watching. Yeah, actually, I got a couple photographs of the comet. a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, it doesn't show up very well in a video, but I'll be uploading photographs at some point. God, I hope this chat actually shows up in the final video, because yesterday I tried to do something just like this and the chat disappeared. So if anybody knows how to make sure the chat actually ends up in the final video, feel free to leave a comment here. Okay, I'm gonna talk about a funny story from my childhood. When I was in fourth grade, one day I had misbehaved in school, and I realized that one of my teachers would be calling our home and leaving a message on our phone saying Andrew did so and so, he caused this kind of trouble. And so I wanted to make sure when the teacher called that she would think that she had the wrong number. So what I did was I dialed a bad number on my phone and I called it. And when the phone said, "Blah, blah, blah, we're sorry, you have reached an..." So I recorded that message of the wrong number and I placed it on our answering machine. I was hoping when the teacher would call our home, they would think that we didn't pay our phone bill or something and she wouldn't think to leave a message. So I left that on the message and I had another event to go to that day. So I wasn't home to pick up the phone. And our teacher left a message anyway. And so my parents heard it, and sure enough, I got grounded. And when I went back to school, my teacher was very upset at me. And she said that she knew I had played that game on her because she could hear me breathing in the background as I was recording the phone message and putting that into our answering machine. So it just goes to show that you got to dot all your I's and cross all your T's, right? Uh, I live in, I've never heard of that place. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Ephrata? Tell us some computer science war stories, as in like how we're going to use computers to fight wars, or what? So I told you about a silly story of when I was in fourth grade. Can any of you guys relate to something stupid you did when you were a kid? What's the best part of Florida to live in? Central. I've never been to Florida actually. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of tropical climates, actually. I generally, for my vacation, I generally love to go to Gdansk Bay, especially during the summer. A lot of daylight over there. I think I was in Gdansk when it was the summer solstice of 3 years ago, and there was almost no nighttime. It was just there was twilight and then there was sunlight. Uh, Oh, you had to fight off another programmer. I've never gotten into a fight with another programmer, unfortunately. Many foolish things. Cool. I think about some other crap that I did when I was a kid. Um, I do. Oh, I got into an argument with. This was when I was in college. I got into an argument with my classmate, and I wanted him to get a number of prank calls, and because he was waiting for a call back to know if he got this job, and I knew he would be sitting next to his phone. So I went on to Craigslist and I used his name and his phone number, and I posted an ad on Craigslist saying that the 10th person to call me wins a 10-ounce gold bar. You know, this is a promotion of some sort. And I left his name and his phone number on the ad. And sure enough, lots of people started to call him. And I wasn't sure if my scam had worked correctly. So about 3 days after I had ran that scam, I went to a payphone. This was back when payphones were still very popular. And I called my friend pretending to be somebody else. And I say, hey, I'm calling about that gold bar. Did I win? And he goes, no, somebody used my name and my phone number. I'm so sorry about that. And so I say, I'm sorry too. I wonder how close, just out of curiosity, was I caller number 10? He goes, you weren't even close. I said, well, how many callers called before me? And he was like, at least 50 to 60. I'm so frustrated about all this. And so I knew my scam had worked. And so he got 50 to 60 really annoying phone calls. And that was only until I called. He probably got even more after I called him. Uh, KGB. No, I love the beaches there. There's a lot of attractive girls over there too. Definitely a lot more so than Florida. And people actually follow the rules over there, right? When we were locked down, um, Donald Trump was very upset about all these college students going on to spring break in Florida. I didn't hear the Gdansk having the same kind of problem, right? In fact, when they finally ended the quarantine and the beaches were reopened, people actually lined up 6 feet away to get into the beach, right? I saw this on online actually. People really follow the rules over there. I guess they're worried about the KGB. I don't know. That was very refreshing to see, though. What are you guys laughing about? Best programming language. I use C++ because it's somewhat assembly-like, right? You can kind of see how C++ translates into assembly, and so you can optimize for a lot of very low-level things. But then it has high-level stuff to interface with as well, right? So that's my preference. All of my computer games are written in C++. Yeah. Unfortunately, my friend, he still ended up getting that job anyway. I was hoping he would miss the call for getting that job. That was what I was trying to shoot for, but it looks like he got the job anyway. So, but I had a good time messing with him. He and I got into disagreements over a girl, and he was very nasty to me. Like I couldn't even look at the girl the wrong way. So he deserved to get 50 to 60 phone calls. Working on an app that will tell you how you got sick, like contact tracing kind of stuff, or what do you mean by that? You know, basic. Yeah, basic was actually the first computer language that I ever learned. Um, Before I go on, I want to say that I feel so good now that I can talk live, right? One of the reasons I used to love YouTube is that oftentimes I would say the wrong thing the first time, and I can always re-record. Lately, I've been using this live stream feature because I want to practice being able to speak on the spot without making mistakes. Um, Basic was the first computer language I ever programmed in, actually. It was QBasic. I was 7 years old at the time. And so when I was a kid, when I was 5 years old, 6 years old, one of my favorite math exercises to do was to add up all of the numbers from 1 to 100 and see if I could get the answer correct at the end, right? Because I knew what the answer was. It was 5,050. But I wanted to practice to make sure I could do the whole calculation without making a mistake. And eventually I got really good at it. And so one of the first computer programs I wrote was to add up all the numbers from 1 to 100 to see if I can get the computer to give me the right answer. And the first time I ever wrote it, the computer said 0. And my heart really sank. And before I could correct it, my mom told me to come downstairs to have dinner. And the whole time at dinner, I was just so sad. And my parents thought I had caught a disease or something. Probably they probably wanted to put me in a mental hospital. That's how sad I was. And then after dinner, I went back to the computer. You got to remember, this was back when computers took up like half the room, right? It was a 286 if I remember correctly. And so I looked carefully at the program. I had added all the numbers correctly, but at the end of the program, I printed out the wrong variable. And the variable wasn't initialized yet. That's why the computer thought it was 0. That's probably the default value or something. And so when I ran it again, the computer said 5,050. And I got so excited. The computer was in a different room than my bedroom. And so I went to my bedroom to jump on my bed. Yay, 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 yay. And then I broke the spring in the mattress and I got a very sharp edge come out of the mattress. I went, ah! And then my mom was so upset because she realized I had been really sad during dinner time, and now I was jumping all over the bed. She must have thought I had some kind of bipolar disorder. And when I explained that, the computer added all the numbers from 1 to 100 correctly on my first try. She just thought I was crazy. And that kind of behavior went on throughout my childhood and into my adulthood of just always being moody because of what my computer programs are doing, how well they're doing. And unfortunately, that's my life story. It didn't end when I was 7 years old, unfortunately, and which is a problem because sometimes I get very moody about my computer programming that it really affects my other relationships and my other hobbies. So, and that was 26 years ago, and I still have that problem to this day. Anyways, I'm gonna head to the bathroom. Just a second. That's a super fancy room. Even the radiator. Can you see a radiator from the angle? I'm just wondering what's visible from my. That's interesting that you can see more than I can see. I'm just wondering what's the best advice? Oh, from the other videos. Okay, okay. I was wondering what you guys could see. I just want to make sure it's good. uh, best advice for programming: lots of trial and error. I mean, try to do one thing at a time, compile it, see what it does. If you're starting out, that is. Um, when I started learning programming, I was 7 years old. At the time, we used to have a dial-up internet. It was very slow, right? And you would download a QBasic program, and even that might take like 10 seconds to download, if I remember correctly. And then I would get a hold of the code, and I would copy like one line at a time just to see what every line is corresponding to. And then I would run like 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, and see what it corresponds to. And that was my early learning experience. I was only 8 years old at the time, but still, that was my first touch with it. Yeah, I think he's the radiator. He's talking about this. Oops, from the other videos. But what I really love about this place is that the other guests in here are in and out, in and out. So I get to mingle with a lot of people from different walks of life. Can I write a chess program one day? I mean, yeah, but chess has been studied. Computer chess has been studied for probably before computers were even invented, right? From a conceptual point of view, right? So probably not worth my time to try to compete in that area. I mean, it's very interesting problem, right? Oh, this is my camera bag. Yeah, this is what I normally use for my other YouTube videos. And I wonder if I can connect this to live stream, right? The quality is certainly a whole lot better for the video, right? Although the file size might be a little bit bigger than I want if I'm recording for several hours in a row, right? But what else have I done recently? Um, oh, I forgot to finish the story about how COVID-19 went down for me at the beginning. So in February, I had heard about how we might have trouble getting stuff from China because of COVID-19, right? I don't think they called it COVID-19 at the time. It was called a novel pneumonia or something like that of unknown origin, right? And I wasn't too worried about that. My parents were kind of a little bit more panicky than I was at the time. I wasn't hoarding yet. One day I had gone to my favorite coffee shop and they had took away every other seat and we needed to practice social distancing. And okay, I kind of like social distancing anyhow because I have food allergies. Sometimes people get, I have very bad allergies to milk. I get eczema, and people get something very dusty on their fingers, and they'll dust it everywhere, and I react badly to that. And so I thought, hey, social distancing is not a bad idea, whether or not we want to believe this new pneumonia disease, right? But not long after that, I got back to my car that same day and I turned on the radio and they were talking about how entire cities had shut down, right? San Francisco, or maybe it was New York, Boston, and the entire city had closed all public places. And I had a hard time wrapping that around my head. I had a very hard time wrapping that around my head. It was one of those things, it will never happen to me. And later that night, I get multiple emails um, from places that I've been to apologizing that they were closing their doors, and places at my gym. What else? The coffee shop that I was going to. They had emailed me because I was on their mailing list, and they were apologizing for closing. And then I realized that the market had crashed, and I thought this is a great opportunity to buy silver. And when I went to appmax.com, which is one of my favorite silver dealers, sold out. Goldbureau.com sold out. Um, what other places? Modern Coin Mart sold out, and it was like, this is a joke. I mean, how can you claim silver is 13 bucks an ounce and you're trying to sell it for 18 and it's sold out? I mean, um, um, uh, if you've learned anything about microeconomics, that doesn't make any sense at all, right? And that's when I realized that the world as we knew it would never be the same again. And sure enough, the next day, everything around town closed down. And I was still living in my car at the time. Actually, before COVID-19, I used to live in my car when the weather was permitting. Right, I would find a place just like this every winter time. But um, for 9 months out of the year, I used to live in my car. And so the next day, I went to book a long-term stay on Airbnb. Not this place, but another place that I got a pretty good deal on it, right? Because they had a last-minute cancellations and all that, and they were happy to basically give away that place as long as somebody would maintain it, right? So that was good. Uh, yeah, this is an organic cigar. Um, Trying to stay positive. But how do you think about my idea of keeping my camera on, like anytime I'm basically not working, and so to keep myself in check in terms of because during the whole quarantine process, right? Because at the beginning of quarantine, I was kind of spending multiple. I was spending like 23 hours a day indoors, and my behavior just got really out of whack. Right, I would put my feet on the table. I would uh, do everything like lying down and not good hygiene. A lot of times my clothes would have holes in them, and I realized that I was in a mess. And now that I have people watching me all the time, it's kind of keeping me in check. Uh, it was first called the Wuhan Bat Fever. I don't remember that name. Uh, no, I don't remember that name. I know it. I know the disease probably comes from bats, but I didn't. I've never heard it called Wuhan bat fever. Do you want to be the Truman Show? I've never heard. Let me Google that right now. I've never heard of the Truman Show. An ordinary life that unbeknownst to him takes place on a large set populated actors for a television show about him. Oh my god. Yeah, I guess quarantine is kind of like that, right? We're all participating in this 8 billion person reality TV show, right? And life is kind of like a reality TV show, isn't a TV show in many ways, right? You know, when I was a kid, one of my favorite reality TV shows was Survivor. I was 13 years old when it was first on, and when I first moved out of my parents' home to go pursue my PhD in Rochester, New York, I was scared to death. I had never lived on my own. Uh, at the time, I was scared to death. And what really helped me get through the first year or so was to treat my adventure in Rochester almost like it's a reality TV show, and that there would be individual challenges, right? Like at the time I had just learned how to drive a car. I had to keep myself healthy. Those are individual challenges, right? And then there would be group challenges where I have to interact with my classmates, right? And form alliances there, right? And someday I might have to form another alliance of marrying somebody, right? Um, that one I actually don't like anymore. I really enjoyed my personal space during this quarantine, right? So at the beginning of quarantine, this was back in March now, I remember thinking of this as just an individual challenge. It's an 8 billion person reality TV show. And right now, with the live stream, I feel like I'm on Big Brother. So this is another reality TV show for me now. I'll definitely have to see The Truman Show. Uh, Actually, I probably could just buy it over YouTube, right? Let me see if it's on here. Cool. Yeah, it's on here. I'll get to that later. Cool. So somebody commented on my platinum video on how to turn 1 ounce of platinum into 16. On YouNow, they have a sleeper squad, nothing but people sleeping. That's kind of interesting. Why would is this lots and lots of people sleeping? What country are you traveling to next? Well, I don't think we have any borders that are open yet, but when they finally open, um, hopefully I get to go to the Computer Olympiad. That's in Japan in early October. Um, Obviously, uh, speaking of October, Halloween is coming up. I think this Halloween's going to be really tricky. Nobody wants to be knocking on people's doors and eating something out of somebody else's home, right? So, uh, which is fine with me. I haven't participated in Halloween for 18 years now because I got off of sugar, right? When I was working on my PhD, I one year over Halloween, I had given a lot of kids baking chocolate. At the time, baking chocolate used to come in little squares, right? They didn't come in bars like this. And I would give little kids squares of baking chocolate. And later that night, one of the parents got very upset and angrily knocked on my door. And when I answered the door, she was very upset, saying that her kid suffers from, I think, ADHD. And she asked me, what did I put in the chocolate? He's got to be very careful with what he puts in his mouth. And she probably thought I put some kind of weird medicine in the chocolate. And I told her that it was baking chocolate, and I showed her the box. And she got very upset, and she was like, "How can you do this to my son? He has ADHD. You made us worry all night about what he had swallowed." And I thought it was pretty ridiculous, because if her son is suffering from ADHD, the last thing he wants to be eating is sugar. And so I told his mom, quite frankly, that you might want to be worried about what our neighbors are giving your son, because all that sugar is not good for him. I'm probably the only house in the neighborhood who's not giving your son poison. And his mom got very upset at that remark and really raised her voice, like, "Fuck you." And she probably realized I was right about that. But at the same time, she felt guilty about giving her son all this sugar. And so she got very upset about that remark. She realized it was true, but she got very upset about the remark. And she angrily shouted obscenities at me and stormed out of the house. and it was a very good experience. I kind of missed that. Now that we won't be doing Halloween again, I'm definitely missing that memory. Uh, good memory. That was 15 years ago. Good times, good times. I miss it now. Every time we come across another holiday, like the 4th of July earlier this year, yeah, Thanksgiving's going to be tricky, especially if you have family members from another part of the world and there are border crossing issues and you can't come, or even some states are now imposing some kind of quarantine. That's going to be a tricky one. Trading commodities, as in like, see, a lot of people do options trading, which is another form of leverage. And I'm a long-term trader. So, like I said, with leverage, you're taking the risk that you might be right on the long-term direction, but in the short term, the volatility will wipe you out before you can get there, right? It's kind of like you you can be right about well, for example, when I was working on my PhD, I talked about how I got into a messy relationship with a girl, and in the long term, I learned a lot from that lesson, right? But in the short term, I was eating a lot of roadkill, and if I caught a disease from all that roadkill and died, I would never be able to apply my long-term lessons, right? So that's kind of an analogy to why I prefer those long-term trades of just buying and holding, right? I think Warren Buffett even said one time that his best holding time is forever, right? He's in for the long term, right? He never watches how much things will drop in 1 day or 2 days or whatnot. Anyway, so this is what I use for viewing Jupiter and Saturn, right? This is 40 times the zoom. See, what I hope to do one day is to put a bunch of helium balloons onto my camera, or maybe even hydrogen balloons, right? And have it go into the sky and then point to Jupiter. If I can get at least part way out of the atmosphere, right, I could probably get a much better photographs. The main problem I have is I don't know how to find the camera after I do that, right, and how to orient the camera when it's up in the sky, right. But hydrogen balloons can go pretty much infinitely high, right, because as you go higher, the hydrogen expands to compensate, and hydrogen being the lightest gas in the universe, right, it will basically expand and eventually leave the Earth's atmosphere, and then it will have to contend with other atmospheres up there, right? The suns and other atmospheres, and there's almost no limit to how high you could go with if you have hydrogen, right? And you have material that was strong enough to keep expanding, right? But obviously, the material will burst at some point, right? I use an old telescope. Wow. Yeah, when I was I think I was in 8th grade at this time, and I learned how to make hydrogen with. We had a drain cleaner that was hydrochloric acid, and it reacts with aluminum foil to make hydrogen. So what I did was I took a glass bottle. It needs to be glass because the acid will attack plastic, and I put aluminum foil in there, and then I filled it up with hydrochloric acid, and then I put the balloon over the neck of the bottle, and the balloon filled with hydrogen. And I took it off and I wrapped it, and I tied some string onto the balloon, and I went outside and I lit the bottom of the string on fire, and then I let go of the balloon, and the balloon went high up into the sky, and then boom! There was this huge fireball in the sky, and my parents were so upset for me messing around with that stuff. It was pretty loud because the balloon didn't get very far before the fire caught up with the balloon, and obviously I made a mess in the kitchen sink with the acid and foil, and my parents were pretty upset with me playing with stuff like that. Um, I used to love playing with chemistry. Eventually, I learned about electrochemistry, uh, and I learned how to make an explosive oxidizer called sodium chlorate. Not sodium chloride, but sodium chlorate. The way you make that is with electrolysis of sodium chloride solution, salt water. But I had made a small batch of it, and it took multiple weeks of electrolysis to make. And I had like about a handful of the powder, and I placed it into a phone book, and I lit the phone book on fire. I put it in the fireplace and I lit it on fire. And as soon as the fire caught up with the sodium chlorate powder, it went fluff, and the entire phone book disappeared. But it was really disappointing because it took weeks to make a little bit of sodium chlorate, and it was gone in like 3 seconds. It was really disappointing. I wanted to make more of that stuff. And so I went outside in a patio, and I took an extension cord, and I put the end of the extension cord in the saltwater solution. I plugged in the extension cord, and before I could even see what was going on, the solution went out of control. And it was so out of control, the extension cord got very hot, and also it made a lot of chlorine gas, either chlorine or hydrogen chloride. It was a very choking gas, at least. And I couldn't get anywhere near the extension cord or the bucket of salt water to stop the reaction. And so I had to go downstairs to the basement where we had a circuit breaker, and I turned off the circuits so then I could go upstairs to clean up the mess. And by the time I returned, everything in that bucket had been charred. And what was really funny was that on the patio, there was a tablecloth on the table that I was working with, and the entire tablecloth had been bleached from all the chlorine gas that had come out of the experiment. And I still couldn't get anywhere near the extension cord because of all the gases. And my mom was like, she heard all this commotion, and she was like, "What's going on?" And she couldn't even get close to the experiment, and she was coughing her lungs out, and she was so upset. At the same time, she was very happy that I was trying all these new things and learning all these new things, but she was pretty upset that I wasn't paying attention to my safety. Eventually, the experiment cooled down, the gases had dissipated, and I cleaned it up. And my mom went into my bedroom and took all the chemistry equipment and the books out of my bedroom because she was pretty upset at me playing around with that stuff. Thank God quarantine wasn't when I was 13 years old. I would have destroyed the house playing with all of this crap, right? Good memories. The flamethrower, I've never done that. But it was a good. Actually, the electrolysis came in handy earlier. People don't like the truth serum reaction. It's no surprise. You mean for the Halloween candy, right? But the electrolysis came in handy earlier this year because I couldn't find Clorox bleach at the store. I ended up having to make my own with so electrolysis of salt water. If it's in an ice bath at cool temperature, actually makes bleach, sodium hypochlorite. At room temperature, and in an acidic condition, it makes sodium chlorate. So they're very similar processes. So I ended up making my own bleach, and my my roommate was very surprised. He was like, "Yeah, right, that doesn't make bleach." And I happened to have a pair of socks that were torn, and so I said, "Well, why don't we test it?" And so I bleached a pair of socks, and he was like, "No way, you made bleach?" And he's a computer science major, so I don't blame him for not believing me. Um, so that's good because neither of us could find bleach at the store at the time. I had to get my bleach from the pool section. Yeah, you could get powdered chlorine shock powder, right? And you can dilute that to make bleach. I think some of the other people I knew did that, but I actually made bleach from salt. And when people hear about that, they're like, "Really?" Because when people hear that you can turn salt into bleach, they get worried about all the salt that they're eating, right? They don't realize that just because something's made of the same elements, that it can behave very differently, right? Somebody who's not very well versed in chemistry usually gets very concerned when they hear that bleach is made from salt, right? Or they hear that an explosive powder can be made from salt, right? Yeah, so salt is sodium chloride, but bleach is sodium hypochlorite. It's basically an extra oxygen atom in between the sodium and the chlorine, but it puts the chlorine in a very different oxidation level. So the way bleach works is because you can think of a solution of bleach as a solution that's kind of missing two electrons, right? It wants to grab electrons from the colors and the stains, and it wants to grab electrons from COVID-19 viruses, right? And when doing so, it inactivates the viruses, or it can take color out of your clothes, right? And sodium chlorate is the explosive powder that I was making, right? It's an explosive oxidizer, right? It's even better at grabbing electrons out of things, right? Out of the phone book that I blew up, or industrially, it's probably also used as a disinfectant, right? Because it grabs electrons out of viruses, right? And it does so even more dramatically than sodium hypochlorite, to the point that it can explode, right? Actually, I think sodium hypochlorite can also explode, right? Bleach is only like 3% solution, so if you had 100% sodium hypochlorite, I'm pretty sure it would explode too. Made colloidal. Oh yeah, I have made colloidal silver before as well. The main problem with making your own colloidal silver is that you got to be careful with any minerals that are dissolved in the water that you're using for the solution, or any sort of contamination. Because if there are, it makes silver oxides, or chlorides, or silver compounds, and some of those things can be pretty toxic. You want to make sure you're ingesting actual metallic silver and not some kind of compound of silver, right? The other problem is depending on your source of silver, right? If you're only using 90% silver, then you're ingesting other metals, and sometimes there's copper, nickel, other things that you don't want to be ingesting. So you got to make sure you're using 100%. I think the silver eagles are 100% silver. You definitely don't want to be using like a Morgan dollar, or any of those silver coins, right? Those are only 90% silver, and then you'll be ingesting copper. I've seen videos where people have used 90% silver coins, and I always cringe when I see it, because ingesting copper definitely doesn't sound very safe. I can't believe how many guests I have on here now. I think including myself, six, so five other people on here. I mean, I started doing this as a curiosity, and yeah, I haven't been making my own colloidal silver. I'm kind of paranoid that I don't have the purest materials. So, where's that bottle that I recently got? Yeah, this is the brand that I'm using because they actually have uh, done assays on it, and I've been using this for my face a lot. Let me see if I can show other products that I've been using recently. This is a melatonin that I'm taking. It has purified water, ethyl alcohol, which is the kind of alcohol in beer, natural berry flavor with other natural flavors, and stevia, which is a natural sweetener. Um, where's the bottle of hand sanitizer that I had? Um, you can also use hydrogen peroxide to sanitize your hands. What I'll do is I'll put a few drops, and it's pretty good at exfoliating skin from your hands as well. Um, I wouldn't recommend drinking this stuff because with the pharmaceutical kind of hydrogen peroxide, they have stabilizers. And I think earlier in the year, I showed a brand of hydrogen peroxide that I actually drink. Um, okay. Let me see if I can get some of my friends to join us on here. How do I share this video? I'm still practicing with a lot of this stuff. Okay. Does hydrogen peroxide turn back into water? Yeah, that's why you need a stabilizer, and that's why I don't recommend drinking this stuff because I believe it has some kind of compound of tin as a stabilizer, which you definitely don't want to be ingesting too much of. Uh, Actually, there are certain catalysts. There you can watch this on YouTube. It's called elephant toothpaste. You put a catalyst in the hydrogen peroxide, goes and it shoots like 10 feet in the air. I'm not sure if 3% peroxide will do that. Usually they use 30% for that experiment. And I'm not sure how to get a hold of that catalyst. I think it's manganese dioxide, or actually, I think it's sometimes they use potassium iodide. That's a little bit easier to get a hold of. What else do I? Uh, Baking soda. I use a lot of this for my laundry. Let me see what else I can show you guys that I use. Um, Lately, I've been hoarding up on a lot of batteries. I thought for sure batteries might be hard to come by during the crisis, and I need a lot of them because my camera and some of my devices. And obviously, if power were to go out, radios and stuff like that. And I spend a lot of time on the road, so batteries are definitely useful. The reason I thought that batteries might go extinct during the crisis is that, first of all, they're a very good form of barter kind of currency, right? And second of all, you can use electricity to make bleach, right? I mean, I was using the walls when I was doing this, but eventually, if the power goes out, and people need to make bleach, right? I was pretty sure that people would find recipes online to make bleach, and so batteries would come in handy there. But I go through batteries quite a bit too with my astronomy stuff, so uh, not a bad idea anyhow for me. Uh, What cool mail stuff are you buying? I'm not sure what that means. I can't believe I've been speaking for an hour and a half and I'm still not nervous. This is what I'm trying to get over. Because when I used to make YouTube videos that were not live, I would get very nervous and I would say the wrong things and I would have to re-record. And I thought that live stream would be a good way for me to practice what happens when I don't get to re-record, as in like what happens when I go to the office, what happens when I go out to the shopping malls and talk to somebody, because I used to be very nervous about that stuff. I think live stream can kind of be a stepping stone in between YouTube videos and real life, right? It's kind of an in between of the two, right? So this is very nice. I wish I had discovered this early in the quarantine, right? When I actually had more time on my hands to play around with this stuff, right? Um, what else have I been up to? I gotta check out that video of people sleeping and all that, recording themselves sleeping. I still cannot believe that is a thing. Um, anyways, here's something else I can do. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, there's been a lot of identity theft, and somebody unfortunately stole my credit card number online. So I'm gonna have to destroy this credit card, and I thought I'd do it in front of the camera. I love bending credit cards anyhow, so let's see how badly I can destroy this credit card. It usually takes about 20 to 30 folds before you can break the card apart. I don't know why I love doing this. Sometimes when I hear there's a problem with my credit card or I see that the credit card has expired, I get really excited because I get another chance to destroy a credit card. I'm surprised. I'm surprised Dave Ramsey never does this on the screen because he tells people to destroy credit cards all the time, right? I'm surprised he has never done that on air. I use virtual credit card numbers for security. I got to look into that. Yeah, I don't necessarily believe that nobody should ever use credit cards, but I definitely think that there should be a lot more education around how to use them. And certainly there are some people for which credit cards can be a big problem, right? Just like for some people, they gotta fast every 24 hours because their eating habits can get out of whack if they don't regularly fast, right? Some people can't use credit cards; they got to find other ways around it, right? Um, but you got to know yourself, right? Wow, American Express, they have some pretty good material for their cards. When I was a kid, my dad had a platinum credit card, and I naively thought the way they worked was that there was this little chip that stored all your money in terms of platinum, right? And when you would swipe your card, a little bit of that platinum would melt and it would go into the swipe device, and then the platinum would transfer into the machine that you were paying into, right? You would choose the maximum amount in your expiration date. Wow. But when I was a kid, I thought that was what the platinum meant in a platinum credit card, right? Come to think of it, I think I've used my platinum credit card to buy platinum before, right? Come on. All right. What else can I do? I'm trying to think of other stuff I can do on the video. One of the games I've been programming recently is Rummikub, right? So I guess we could play some solitaire Rummikub, right? I'm gonna draw some tiles and let's see how many it takes before we get a winning hand, right? If I can figure out how to position this correctly. Okay, there's a red 10. 4. I wonder how this shows up on camera on your end. Do they show the numbers in the right direction, or is it like all mirror imaged? 10. I see the numbers in mirror image. I wonder how it looks on your end. That's really frustrating. It's a black 3. That's kind of hard to read. Is that a 6 or a 9? I can't even tell. Oh crap. Oh well. I couldn't even tell if that was a 6 or a 9. All right, let's start over. Let me see if I can position this on my desk with the computer, and I don't have an external webcam, so that's tricky. All right, I'll just have to show you guys one tile at a time and then place them in front of me. Unfortunately, it's not going to let me move my camera far enough. Here we have a blue 10. Right, so you start with 14 tiles. So I'm just going to draw 14 tiles, and then we'll take a look at the rack after it's all drawn out. And if we're lucky, we'll have a winning hand. Right. Oh, that's nice. That's a third 10 already of a different color. 3. 13. Hopefully we get a yellow 12. 8. That's not so good. That's the second black 8. 4. That's a red 9. How many tiles do we have now? 8, 10. Okay, 4 more. Yellow 2. There's a blue 5. So we need 2 more tiles. A blue 3 and a red 8. Okay, let's take a look at the rack. Let me put everything in order first. So the only set I can see there is well, is that it? No, okay. Yeah, the colors show up correctly. Okay, so the only set I see are the 3 10s up there. I wish I could mirror image the screen. Is there a button I can press? Anybody up here know a button that can change the mirror orientation of the screen? Okay, we draw a red 7. What color is that? The colors aren't showing correctly. Yeah, yellow and red are very hard to distinguish on that screen for some reason. 2. Oh, there we go. 2, 3, 4. Ah, that's right. Okay, yellow. Okay, good, good, good. That's 4 tens, all of different colors. That's good. All numbers and colors are fine on our end. You're not seeing them in mirror image? That's a yellow 2, which is not good because we already have a yellow 2. Cool. Okay, they're showing up correctly on other people's ends, but on my end they're all mirror imaged for some reason. That's a black 2. I'm always amazed when I play solitaire, like how many tiles it takes before you have a winning hand. It's a lot more than I usually think about because usually when I play with opponents, usually complete the game before half the sets are the tiles are drawn, right? Okay, there's a red 2. So okay, so we need another 2 that's either black or blue in order to complete that other set of 2s. A 13. Okay, so we have to wait for another 13. That's not going to go very well. Okay, I'll have to get an external webcam at some time so I can show you guys some of these card games because this is not going to go very well with me holding the rack. Where's my live chat now? It just disappeared on me. Stack of books, baby. Hold on a second. I'm on a laptop, so I don't even have place for the books. Just a second. Maybe my tripod might do something. Ah. Cool, 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 cool. All right, you're just gonna have a good memory because I could only show like 2 rows of the tiles at a time now. 12. What happened to the other 2? Okay, here it is. 2, 2, 2. And we were waiting for another 2 to complete that second set. 3. Oh, 7. Okay. Did that show up correctly to you guys? Good. Okay. We have a yellow 6. A blue 12. Red 13. Good. So we completed the 13s. I'm going to put these aside because otherwise nothing else is going to fit on here. Let's put all the completed sets aside. We'll come back to them. The 10s. What else? 7, 8, 9. Anything else? No. Okay. Red 12, which really sucks because we have a red 12 already. So who all is still on here? We have a blue 13. We have a red 1. Here's a blue 1. A black 12. Okay, so these 12s are done. Yeah, believe it or not, it's not unusual for me to draw like 3/4 of the tiles before I get a winning hand when I play solitaire. There is a red 11. Actually, can I rearrange some of that? Yeah, I can. We had an extra 10 in that set. Okay, so 10, 11, 10, 11, 12 are now complete. The 3s. Do I have a red? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Good. There we go. What else? 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we need a 3 or a 5 with the yellows. 11. I don't think I can rearrange anything to make that 11 fit somewhere. Not yet. Crap! I hate it when I get 2 of the same tiles. They never go together, right? So yeah, I like practicing the game before I actually write the neural networks. Like for example, my first intuition is that having 2 of the same tiles is usually bad, and so it became an inspiration for how the neural network should look like, right? For each of these tiles, right, each of the 52 tiles, if you have 2 of the same, that second one is probably going to get a very different score than the first one, right? So you better have 2 variables that can independently move against one another, right? The value of that first tile and the value of that second tile are very different uh, uh, variables to be learned, right? In some games, they're the same variables to be learned, right? For example, in chess, it's probably an okay approximation that having 2 bishops is worth 2 times whatever having 1 bishop is worth. That's probably a reasonable approximation, right? Not so for Rummikub, right? Okay. There's 111. Good. Eight. One. Does that combine with anything there? Nope. 13. Yellow 12. Did we have some? Yeah, that's the fourth color for the 12s. One. Anything over there? Nope. 6. Oh, 9, 10, 11, 12. Actually, we can break that 12 off. Do we have two 12s on here? What happened to our 12s? How many total tiles in Rummikub? Well, there's the numbers go from 1 to 13. You have 4 colors, and then each of those tiles, there's 2 copies of them, and then you have 2 jokers, right? So 4 times 13 times 2 makes 104, and then plus the 2 jokers to make 106, right? I actually thought about if I needed to smuggle a bunch of precious metals, right? I could make the tiles out of solid gold, and for this amount of gold, it weighs roughly an ounce, right? And a 1 ounce bar of gold looks roughly this size, right? And so if the government were to confiscate gold again, there's usually an exception for like personal items, right? I could just claim that the whole Rummikub set is just one giant piece of jewelry, right? 10. Oh, a joker, finally. That's gonna help. Let's see. We can always rearrange later, but let's see how much we can take care of on here. 13. Actually, the 13 can go onto the other side. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 over here now. The 8. Yeah, let's get rid of the 11s. Having the 2 yellows are just really annoying. We can always rearrange later. A blue 12. Unfortunately, we don't have a blue 11 somewhere. Oh, the 8 can go on that string of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Here's a okay, we can break the 13 off that chain and make a set of 3 13s there. The 12 can go with the 12 off that chain, and then we have 4 12s already, so that makes a set. Do we have a yellow, blue 6 somewhere? No, we don't. 6, 6. Okay. A blue 7. Not too good, but we're getting close anyhow. Oh, the Joker can just represent any tile, any color and any number. 4. Anything there? No. Seven. Is there any seven we can pick up from there? How about seven? Oh, is that a six? Yes. 6, 7, 8. We're going a black 6. Red 4. Okay. We have red 1, 2, 3 here. Right? So that we can continue that with the red 4. Do we have any other 4s here? There we go. We can take the red 4 and combine it with. Okay. Yellow 12. We can't take the 13 off that set because it only has 3. So right here I have a set of 3 13s. I got another set of 3 13s. You always need 3 in a set, right? So you can't break off a 13 from either one of those yet. But if we draw another 13, we can put that 13 here and then we can take the yellow 13, right? A black 2. I don't have anything resembling that here, so not yet. Black 3, that might change things. Do I have a black 1 somewhere? Or how about a black 4? I do, but it's in a set. Can I rearrange? Well, the red 4 can go with the run of 1, 2, 3, but that leaves the yellow 4 that doesn't go anywhere, so we can't do anything yet. Oh, nice. Blue 4. Now we can combine that with the other 4s, which means we can take the black 4 and combine that with the 2 and the 3. You always need 3 tiles, at least 3 tiles in every set, right? So there we go. Oh, I need to draw 1 so badly. We got a blue 8. Oh, here we go. We have a 6, 7, 8, and an 8, 9, 10 in black. So we can combine the 6, 7 into the 8, 9, 10 and take out the blue, the black 8. We have a run of 8, 9, 10, 11 in red. We can take the red 8, and now we can combine all of this with the blue 8, right? And this 6 can combine with the, oh no, because that's a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A red 7. Hopefully we'll find another 7. Actually, you have a red? No, that's a red one. Okay. Okay, that's a yellow 1. Finally, we get rid of the 1s. Yeah. Ricky, are you using Microsoft Windows? Because they have a Rummy. It's free on the Windows apps. That's where I learned a lot of my Rummikub. It's red 3. Come on, something there. Be nice if I got the other Joker. Okay, there's the blue 6, finally. Seven. Blue colors like the yellow 6. That's not good. A blue 9. I thought I had a set of 9 somewhere. I probably have something close to winning hand. I'm just dumb enough not to see how to rearrange, and obviously all the tiles are crammed up on my table that I can't really see much anymore. Let's see. 8. Oh yeah, this 8 goes into here. That 8 comes out. 7, 8, 9. I'm gonna bet I already have a winning hand. 6. 11, 11. Oh yeah, 10, 11. Nope, I don't have a black 11. Oh yeah, 10 comes out of that set of 4. 10, 11, 12. Oh! So what do you think about a Rummikub set made of solid gold? What do you think about that idea? Oh, finally. Okay. I can't even tell what color that is in. Okay, that's those are yellow, those are red. Where's the black one? There's no black 1 in here. 2, 2, 2. All right, that's a yellow 5, right? 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that red 4 comes out. 4, 5, 6. I wish I could show you the final sets, but they're all messed on my table. Let me rotate the camera a little bit. You can see what sets the tiles go into. So you need 3 tiles of either the same number and different colors to make a group like this, or you need at least 3 numbers of the same color and consecutive, right? Like 7, 8, 9. That's what I've been doing off camera because I don't have enough space. I'm thinking in a future video, what I might do is have get some magnets that I can put behind the tiles and then put them onto a board. That's probably the easiest way to do this on camera, unless you have a better idea. Yellow doesn't seem to show up on the camera. What do you see the yellow as? Does it look like red or what? So here we have a group of 1s, right? Yellow, red, and blue. Anyways, I'll have to come back to this. I'm thinking of getting I'm thinking of getting some magnets to put behind the tiles, and then I can put them onto a board. That's probably the easiest way to do this. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. But the other guy was saying that he can see everything. So, uh, all right. I don't know why Rummikub makes me think of a way to conceal some gold. I also thought about some chess sets. Can you think of anything else that you can make gold into to avoid confiscation? Yeah, checkers, obviously. Another thing I thought about was if you could replace all the copper piping in your house with gold. In a lot of states around the country, if you go bankrupt, your personal residence is exempt from the bankruptcy proceedings. So if you hide the gold in your house, I wonder if that's considered a personal residence, right? What do you think about that little loophole? By gold gift, what do you mean by gold gift cards? Like a gift card to a gold shop of some sort? Gold wiring, yeah, for well, at that point you have like a piece of credit, right? You don't have gold anymore if you just have a gift card from a gold shop, right? That's part of the reason why you want to take delivery of your gold, right? Do you declare gift cards in bankruptcy? I'm not sure. Usually there's usually exemptions for personal property anyhow, right? That would probably go against that, right? So if your state has like 5,000 for your furniture, and you happen to have gift cards to a person to a furniture store, right? That might be considered part of your personal furniture budget, right? In terms of the chess set, that might get tricky though. They give you a limit when you file bankruptcy for how much jewelry you get to keep, right? So a gold chess set would probably count against that, right? But having it in your plumbing, a lot of states don't put a cap on how much equity you can keep in your house when you go bankrupt. So the gold is part of your plumbing. I wonder how that gets counted. That would be an interesting case for somebody to try out, right? Your clothes, yeah, that might work. Um, I'll have to see if they have like some kind of a limit for how much clothing you can keep. I think if your clothing is work related, they let you keep it, right? Because certainly they want you to keep having a means to pay back your creditors, right? So come up with a case on why your work requires you to wear gold, right? Yeah, gold is probably not going to do very well, at least not relative to the other metals. That's that's definitely true. Yeah, if it's in your teeth, I think you would be allowed to keep it, right? Yeah, it's I'm hoping for a pullback based on what I found. Although I gotta give a little bit of a warning. Gold is probably going to go down relative to the other metals for sure, but relative to the dollar, it all depends on what the dollar does, right? The price of gold relative to the dollar is mostly caused by the dollar moving, right? Gold has a very astrological pattern to it, but the dollar is at the whim of the politicians, right? So, um, but I would say platinum's a good buy for sure, right? Because relative to the other metals, it has quite a ways up to go. So, do you believe that video of the astrology and how gold was going to go to 500 and then way up? most fascinating. Nice. I think I recorded that at the beginning of COVID-19, so I'll have to redo that chart based on the newer data. The stock market astrology. What'd you think of it? There's a flood of scrap. Yeah, there's gold never gets destroyed. That's part of the issue, right? 90% of all the gold ever mined is still with us. Actually, that's going to change because gold is so cheap now that it's hardly worth recycling, right? To give you an idea of how cheap gold is today, um, can you think about another time in history when, even if you knew there was gold somewhere that you visited 50 years ago, it is not worth going back to retrieve it? Like, imagine if Christopher Columbus, he discovered America in 1492, right? Imagine if in 1542, some explorers, they look through their telescope, oh, there's gold in America. And the next thing they hear is, it's not worth going to America to retrieve it, right? That would be incredible, right? We kind of live in that situation today because 50 years ago, we went to the moon. Today, if we looked up on the moon and there was gold up there, it is still not economical to retrieve it. And I think part of the reason for that is because gold is so artificially cheap, right? So that just goes to show how cheap gold is, right? Never in history have humans been able to say, we're not going to go somewhere we went 50 years ago to retrieve some gold, right? I think this is the first time in history humans can say that, right? Does that put into perspective how cheap gold is today? There's a slight risk that gold is again backed by the dollar. Well, if it is, then the dollar price would definitely go up, right? The real value of gold, right? What you can actually buy with the gold, that's always up in the air, right? But if the gold's going to be backed by the dollar, the value of the dollar is going to have to go way down relative to gold, right? Yeah, uh, asteroids are another thing, but gold is so cheap that it is not worth going even to the moon to retrieve gold that's already been refined, right? That's how cheap gold is, right? It costs $200,000 an ounce to bring a sample back from the moon, right? So gold is cheap by a factor of at least 100 before it's worth even going to the moon to retrieve it, right? That's how cheap it is, right? And US dollar, thanks in the video of your some dude is saying US dollar. Well, it takes anytime you say something goes down, it has to be relative to something else, right? Are you talking about the dollar versus the some of the metals, or oh, versus the yen? Yeah, 30 yen to a dollar was what I predicted if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's um but never before in human history have humans ever been able to say it is so expensive to travel where we first explored 50 years ago that we're not even going to go there if there's a mountain of gold over there, right? Never before in history have humans ever said that. So the fact that we won't go to the moon to pick up some gold, I find that very surprising, right? Well, that too, but yeah, historically, that's where the dollar versus the gold is going, versus the yen. The big problem is that those are all relative, right? It could be that both the dollar and the yen are going to hyperinflate, right? The first moon landing. Well, it depends what you mean by the total cost, right? Does the cost involve all the other research that allows us to do even more research before we can build Apollo 11? Does it include, the first human to ever discover that 1 + 1 = 2? Like, how far are you willing to go back and count that toward our achievement of the moon landing, right? It's a very fuzzy line to say how much did the moon landing cost, right? So how much did the first moon landing cost is a very open question, right? Yeah, the first human to land on Mars, I actually don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Part of the reason being that we have such great technology to do everything at Mars, working from home, right? Just like we're working from home because we're worried about COVID-19, right? You know, if COVID-19 had happened 40 years ago, it probably wouldn't have hit the news because we couldn't afford to do anything at that time, right? So going to Mars is kind of like that today, right? There might be interest in tourism on Mars, but your average person doesn't have the money to think about that, right? And the people who do, they value their lives, right? So the first human to be on Mars, it could be a long time, right? Anyways, how have you guys been handling the COVID-19 situation? So, this MV man, you've been following my videos about fasting. It sounds like trying to stay sane and keep busy. That's a good idea. Canada's been doing very well. Fasting is hot now, dude. Really? Beyond just my videos? That's cool. See, one of the big benefits of fasting that I recently discovered. Let me give you an analogy. So right now, I'm working from home a lot. Right, I teach at a tutoring center and as an adjunct professor, and a lot of that's at home. And I love taking my computers outside, right, outdoors to work. The problem is that my computer will complain of a low battery within like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's really annoying, right? I can't go somewhere very flexibly to work 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. So I recently upgraded my battery, and now I feel like I can take my computer everywhere to work, right? It kind of reminded me of how I was interacting with my food. If I'm eating 4 or 5 times a day, it's almost like my body is demanding to be recharged 4 or 5 times a day. It makes things really inflexible, right? If I want to go on a road trip, if I want to record a 3 hour video with you guys, right? If I want to take my computer somewhere to work, if I want to even go to a theme park, a lot of theme parks don't have foods that are compatible with my body. It puts a limit on how long I can stay away from the outlet, right, of either the kitchen or a restaurant that's suitable. And now that I'm fasting 24 hours every day, it's almost like I've upgraded my internal battery. Now instead of a 5 hour battery, I have a 24-hour battery, and it feels like I've unwired myself, right? It feels like my body is a lot more wireless than it was a year ago or even 6 months ago now, right? That's a really big benefit of fasting that a lot of people don't seem to realize, right? the unwiring of your body, if you will, right? I don't know if that was that a good analogy, by the way. The triglyceride levels go down when you're fasting. Well, I've never measured my triglyceride levels. I I used to have long time ago. I corrected this even before I fasted. When I was 17 years old, I was pre-diabetic. I had a fasting blood glucose uh, that was low 100s, but I've corrected that even without the fasting. I'm sure I've corrected it even more after fasting. I've never measured my triglycerides, but I'm really happy about the unwiring that I was just talking about a few minutes ago. Uh, I would say a lot of my fasting benefits are actually social benefits. Uh, Mine's portable power tank. I do have a portable power bank, but now that I have one for my body as well, it feels really good, right? Uh, but I hope you understood that analogy. I lose a lot of people when I talk about that analogy, actually. So if you can understand it, uh, yeah, yeah. Actually, my computer now has 4 or 5 hours of battery, so it's not a very good day outdoors today, which is why I'm recording this inside. Tomorrow I might do a video like this outdoors. Uh, I also thought about a solar panel. Most of them don't have enough power to use your computer while you're charging it. That's the thing, right? I'm glad I'm not the only one doing intermittent fasting, though. They do, but not strong enough for you to be using your device while you're and charging it fast enough to. Can you live stream during an astronomy session? The problem is I'm not sure if I'll have a connection there. I'll have to see if my data will support that. Uh, and obviously, this is outside in dark skies, which probably means that your 4G connections are not going to be nearly as good over there either. So, uh, well, I certainly could live stream the software. I mean, that's just running something. I got to see how I can share my screen during a live stream, though. I want to do that because I want to live stream myself playing some of my computer games. Anyway, I can't believe it's already August 21st. Yeah, so I tend to go on a fast every time I need to mourn something, right? So obviously 9/11 is coming up. I'm thinking about how I'm fasting. What day of the week is it this year? Let's see. Oh, perfect. It's a Friday. And then on September 21st, so there was an earthquake in Taiwan back in 1999. I'll probably do another fast. What else is going on this year? Obviously, we have Labor Day in September. I'll think about that as well. So at least at least 3 times I'll be fasting a good 32 hours next month. Uh, what else do we have next month? Walk into a shop and record. You know, some of the places that I shop at don't really frown upon you recording inside the store for some reason. I don't get why. Um, See, I love to take photographs of everything COVID-19 related, right? When I see signs in the store telling you to practice social distancing or to put on a mask, I love taking a picture of that. A lot of stores really frown upon that for some reason. Um, I mean, it's all about social distance. I always make sure there's nobody in the photos when I take them. I don't know why. It's just a silly sign, really. Oh my god. Well, security in terms of a sign, really, really. I mean, if other people were visible in the photo, I could understand where you're coming from. But a sign saying that mask required, or please stay 6 feet, or a floor sign that says, stand here. Really? That's really silly. Oh. So I was hoping to record myself doing this puzzle, but unfortunately I couldn't get the camera lighting angle correct. So there's a ball in this in a maze, and this thing goes like a Rubik's cube, and I can't even figure out the correct orientation of the Rubik's cube, let alone the maze itself. Right? You got to line up all the different tracks in order to know that you have the right orientation in the first place. You're recording in Walmart. One thing I have discovered, if you really, really, really want to record in the store, right? Try to make it about something, right? If you go into a Walmart and you record yourself and you're talking about gold and silver, or anything else, I find that people are less inclined to bother you, right? If you go there and you start just randomly shooting like signs and decals, so that's when it really attracts a lot of attention, right? Try to camouflage what you're recording, right? Go in there with the camera and go, I think this is a good time to be buying silver because of the gold to silver ratio, blah, blah, blah. What you think about Obamacare, blah, 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 blah. Usually people will leave you alone for some reason. It's a good way to camouflage if you're actually trying to take pictures of the signs at Walmart. First, I don't know why. People are really weird sometimes. Um, well, I guess if you have a feeling the manager would approve, yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, I don't know. I find if you talk about yourself and your own topics, people tend not to bother you. If you go into a store and go, "Oh, I'm so interested about what all this COVID-19 stuff in the signs," and you start recording like crazy and talking about the store, that's when I run into trouble. Right? Just my own experience. I mean, your mileage is probably going to vary depending on where you actually go. Right? All right. Anyways, I'm gonna get off for now. I'll probably record myself just before bed as well as while I'm sleeping later tonight, like I did last night. That was kind of fun. I got a lot of interesting comments. Well, have a good evening.